Hey, this is Emily Roberts. Catch my latest song, In Love with LA, right now. You're listening to On the Porch with Front Porch Music.
But yeah, no, that was one of the times I remember it very well because we did a signing, like I think most artists did, but we wouldn't leave the signing until every kid came through. And I remember the people who were organizing it were annoyed that we were doing that, but impressed. They're like, we've never seen a band insist that they stay longer. And I'll tell you what, Steroes, as much as we were a top 40 pop band, we still were completely built on punk rock roots, and all our favorite punk rock bands did the same thing. They'd meet every kid outside the venue after it, and we brought that mentality to it, at least for the first year, till we all became divas.
Happy Tuesday, and welcome to The Porch. This is Logan, your host, and this week Jenna and I were joined by Patrick Kordyback, who you might know as Delta Sweet. You may also know him as the frontman for the pop-punk rock band Steroes. We talked about how his massive success shaped him and prepared him for going solo in the music industry, the musical transition to country music from pop-punk, how the music industry has changed since he was his band, and we got the vibe check from some of his Stereo songs and his current solo music, including his latest single, Drive 85. This was a great episode with Alberta's Delta Sweet. Enjoy.
Welcome to the porch.
What do we call you here? Do we call you Delta? Mr. Sweet?
Yeah,
Delta?
okay.
The Delta.
So I'm going to put this on the record right now, is like, if I get super insane famous again, I'm going to turn into a total diva. I'm absolutely going to make everyone call me like Delta Sweet, Mr. Sweet. But I'm not famous right now. I'm just kind of a guy, so you can call me Pat. It's hilarious because some people ask, like, what do I intro you as? And it feels weird to, all jokes aside, I'm Pat. I'll always be Pat.
Okay, hi, Pat.
Thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
In summary, this is Pat.
Easy. 3 letters.
Well, thanks for joining us. It is Friday for us right now, not people who are going to be listening to this. Sorry about your luck. But lay the weather out for me, because I'm feeling my mood is very weather dependent between like March and June, and it's a gorgeous, a little bit windy, overcast but sunny day in Toronto, and it's gonna be like 25, I believe. So
Not here, north of Toronto.
That sounds perfect. In where I'm at in Edmonton, just outside Edmonton, it is a rainy day, but it is a blessing because we've had what are supposed to be our beautiful days right now are unfortunately really affected by the wildfires, so they're really gray, and it looks like foggy almost, like all day long. And so the rain really helps clear the air, so I'm thankful for that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I don't mind a good rainy day once in a while.
No sun needed right now. No. Logan, what about you?
It is crappy here. It's cold. It's rainy. I don't know what you're talking about, Jenna, because we're only an hour away from each other, but like
it's literally nice out here.
I'm in a sweater and big wool socks.
You know what? A cozy day is good once in a while too, though.
Jenna, have you been outside yet? Or
Am I missing something? No,
I'm bliss in your condo.
I'm just looking if I should be expecting something later.
Anyway, so now that this weather chat's over with on this podcast, what's weather like for you listening?
You know what? I love weather. In general, weather rules.
Oh, I have the Aurelia weather on, if that makes a difference. Whoops.
Anywho. Well, Pat, why don't you take us back to where you're from, who you are, what life was like growing up.
And how early you became an Oilers fan.
Oh, honestly, that is like my first memories ever are attached to the Oilers. So I was born in 1985, right in the middle of the dynasty days of Wayne Gretzky. And my dad has home movies of me wanting to be interviewed as Wayne. And I would say, give me the finger. And they're like, what? But what I meant by that was like to interview me and fake a microphone. They'd do this, like thumb up for those listening on a podcast. They'd put the thumb to my mouth and I would ask them to call me Wayne. So this sets the stage for, there's other home movies of me learning how to count based on Oilers jersey numbers. It is very much a part of my whole identity is being an Edmonton Oilers fan, for better, for worse. And that is like no joke. Growing up in Edmonton at that time, I think every kid my age who's now an adult has the same experience. And then their last Stanley Cup was 1990, so I was 5. I remember it happening a little bit, but obviously I don't I didn't have the benefit of the extreme elation that you can feel from that. And right now it's really, really bad on my emotions, like the Oilers being, so close. Last night went 2-2 in the Stanley Cup final. And the analogy I've been making with my group chat today is a car is supposed to go 140 on the highway, and it's also supposed to go in reverse, but it's not supposed to be going 140 and then hit reverse at the same time. And that's what's happening to my internal organs watching hockey right now. I know I've kind of gone off track from how I was raised to just the Edmonton Oilers, but
I did that on purpose.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah, so if nothing else, this just emphasizes that I'm a for real Oilers fan. I love Alberta more than anything, and I'm an Alberta boy through and through, and I'm born and raised just outside Edmonton. That's me, and it very much is my identity in a lot of ways.
Okay, what is the Alberta identity inside Alberta?
Okay, so that is
outside Alberta, it's oil rigs and mountains
and prairies.
Yes,
and
yes.
All the things.
And there might be a desert there.
Yeah. See, I love all those things, and when you talk about, I get chills talking about, or just hearing about those, you're oil rigs, prairies, mountains. I'm that's paradise to me. I love it. I will say this, there's a lot of different attitudes out here in Alberta, which I will spare, wading into political territory. But in terms of its natural beauty, I've lived in Toronto. I had the best time ever. I was in my 20s. I was playing in a band that was doing well at the time, and I'm so glad I spent those 4 years of my life in Toronto. So glad. And now I am 40 as of a month ago. Exactly a month ago today, actually. And
happy belated.
Thank you. And there's nowhere else I'd rather be than back home, to be honest. I think I've been so fortunate in my life to experience the best of both worlds. Where I live right outside Edmonton, it's prairies. It can be very cold, and if I had my way, I would live in the mountains, because that to me it doesn't get any better. But I'll still take where I'm at.
I agree. I love the mountains.
It's unbelievable. Every time I go, it feels fake to me. I'm how is this real life? It's so gorgeous.
I know. I lived in the mountains for a couple of summers, so
really?
I can't really pretend that it's more than just a long vacation. But and anytime I'm anywhere near the mountains, I have to make sure I go back to Jasper, back to Banff.
Yeah,
it's just I love it.
I was going to ask if you had talked about you living in Alberta at some point also, but here we are.
I know. Anytime someone mentions the mountains, here I go.
Oh, I lived there. Logan lived in the mountains at one point, and he's fluent in French.
Hey, okay, so I lived in Calgary for 3 years, which is an hour outside the mountains, and that's the one thing I miss most about it. And I'm fluent in French as well. My parents made me do French immersion until grade 11, so at the time I hated it, but I'm very fortunate for it now. I shouldn't say fluent anymore. I completely understand it, but then my mom is fluent, and she'll grill me on sentences. I'm I know what I'm trying to say, but I understand French.
I get really shy trying to speak it.
No, we went to Quebec City last year. I was a mute because I was
Jenna
my grade 11 French.
So little in her life.
My grade 11 French is gonna get me through Quebec City. People started talking, and I was Logan talked the whole time.
I don't know if Quebec is the same as France, but I've been to France and we tried to use our French, and the second they pick up on it, they're disgusted, and they just start speaking to you in English right back, and you're
I heard it was the opposite, and they were let you try.
No, well, again, it might be different in Quebec.
No. I thought Quebec was mean. Sorry to our Quebec friends.
From my experience, and I've been there twice now, is that, again, if my mom speaks, because she's fluent, and so is my sister, they both teach French, it's passable, but as soon as I fumble through an order at a restaurant, the waiter, it's a very French, no. We'll just speak to you in English. Nice try. That was my experience. Maybe they just don't like me.
Maybe.
Could be.
This was also a French person telling me that France was nice to people who speak
French
my goodness, from Canada.
You know what? No. I'm going to say French people, and I love it though. It's kind of I went to Italy in 2019, and they're so over the top and let's go, what's your order, blah blah blah, and I loved it. A lot of people are man, they're rude. I'm I love this though. That's their culture. And I'll say the same thing about French. I felt very much judged, but I also kind of was this rules. This is so French.
How have we gotten so far off? You speak
I'm
French.
not really sure.
Yeah. Got it.
Speaking of Alberta.
Speaking of that's crazy. I have so many friends who live in Alberta, and I speak the most basic line of French to them, as in I open the door and say "après-vous," and my friend turns and whips at me and goes, "What does that mean?" And I was
oh yeah.
What?
I will say My sister and I, again, French immersion kids, we are definitely the minority out here. I don't think
Okay.
a lot of people know French out here.
Fair.
Like, we were nerds our whole lives, because, like, when I played hockey and stuff, they'd be like, you go to the French school? I'm like, yeah.
We.
Exactly.
Okay, so you went to French school, you played hockey. Did you like music back then? How
Yeah, I
does that
loved
happen?
it. So it came around 14, 15 years old for me, where I started becoming obsessed with music. And so I grew up around music like anybody does, obviously. But it wasn't my passion until I always say, like, I was really good at hockey until I was old enough for hitting to start, and then I sucked. Like, I was just so bad at it. I remember, like, trying to hit a guy once, and he told me to look out, which is, like, the most, like, like, get out of here, kid. And so right around, 14, 15, it literally was a concert I went to, and everything changed.
What concert was it?
It's a band called AFI. I don't know if you guys know them. At the time, it was a 400 cap room, so they weren't big yet, but it changed my life. Just like the performance, everything about it, it was unlike anything I had ever seen. And it literally was the next day. I was like, because I was big into skateboarding at the time. I lost interest in skateboarding, sports. I was just obsessed, and I was like, I want to be a lead singer. I didn't even know if I could sing yet, but I just wanted to do that.
I was just gonna say, had you tried to sing it? Would you just beat
Not
me to
really.
it?
No, like, I would sing, like, to songs on the radio. Like, that's another part of my story that goes back to being a child, that I didn't even know I could write songs yet, but my mom always knew, because I would hum my own melodies over other people's songs, and she'd be like, what are you singing? That's not the song. I'm like, I don't know. That's what I hear. And so, but no, not until, like, 15. That's when I was like, I'm going to sing, because I didn't want to do anything else, and hopefully I can. I'm still trying.
AFI is they're a pretty hard rock band, aren't they?
Yeah, so at the time it was like hardcore, punk rock hardcore. And this show was June 28th, 2000, right? Middle of summer, okay? And the reason I mentioned that is because when they came on stage, they had pumpkins on stage. They were wearing, like, black lipstick and full black, everything, nail polish. And again, in the middle of summer, I was like, what is happening? Like, what am I witnessing? Because I already knew the songs, but the internet was very, like, new then, so I didn't know what they looked like. And it was just everything about the performance and I didn't know it at the time, but that's how I learned about essentially branding. Like, this was what they looked like, and it was so different from what I had imagined, and, like, everything, the package together of the sound, the look, the fan base was so unlike anything I'd ever witnessed. And, it changed everything for me.
So, do you remember writing your first song?
Writing my first song, I mean, not really. So I do remember how I ended up being the songwriter for Steroes, because, so I'll say
You
this.
were in Steroes? Sorry.
That's very funny. I was imagine you didn't know.
We were standing wait, I gotta tell you this. We were standing at that bar in Hamilton a couple weeks ago, the night before the CMAs, like, really started. And I was standing with Rich and Eli, and we started playing, I don't even know which Stereos song it was. But I think it was maybe Summer Girl, yeah. And I just stood there, and I was, like, just passively listening, and then Rich looks at me and goes, do you not know this song? And I just went, no, I was too young for this. Wasn't too young for this. And he goes, are you kidding me? And I was like, I've never heard this in my life. And Eli's looking like, get your head out of your ass, Rich, of course. And I was like, never heard this in my life. It took till a chorus or two for me to finally be like, fine, I'll tell it. And he was like, you're kidding me. Anyways, so funny. It's like, is this a cover song?
Well, it's funny because at that show, I presented it as a song I wrote that day. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
sarcastic. I had a few people come up to me and be like, dude, great job writing that today. I was like, oh, like, thank you. It also would have been, like, a very weird country song. But yeah, so I think a lot of bands start out jamming in a rehearsal space, right? Like, a guy has a riff, you sing over it, and I did a lot of that. And I'm sure there are still people who write that way. I will never, ever do that again, because I don't think that it makes sense. But I wrote a joke song on GarageBand on my laptop and showed it to two of the guys. Like, again, this is before we were even called Stereos, anything. And it was a joke. But Dan, who's now, like, my best friend in the world, was like, okay, like, yeah, it's a joke, but you're writing the songs now. Like, you write them. and then we'll bring them together as a band because like you have the structure, you have the melodies. Like let's stop wasting our time like a whole bunch of us in person trying to come up with one idea. You write it and then we'll give it to the band. And it was sort of, it changed, yeah, I've said this now, it changed everything. But like it did change everything because I think that like that gave me the keys to the car. It sort of like reinforced what I think I'm good at, which is coming up with melodies and then bringing it into the band to make it everyone's before the world hears it. But that was sort of when I started finding my hitting my stride as a songwriter. And at that time I was just studying 50s and 60s like motown, and that's how doo-wop ended up being a hook. Was like obviously Summer Girl and Steroes wasn't at all a motown band, but it was the biggest influence because that's how I learned simple chord progressions with really catchy vocal melodies are what's going to stick in people's ears. And I can do this also because I don't play an instrument to this day, but I can, you know, with the technology the way it is, I can now use a computer to bring ideas that I hear in my head anyways. Like my voice memos on my phone are ridiculous because it's just me in public, like humming something, looking crazy probably, but and then listening to it back and then sorting it out that way. So yeah, I'm lucky that I was given that, you know, that vote of confidence from the guys to now it's turned into, you know, my life.
So, first of all, do you think 15-year-old you, giving up sports, skateboarding, deciding I'm going to sing, was like, I'm going to be in this band that anybody in like punk, rock, pop at the time, because that's pop music in the 2010s for sure too, is going to fucking love? Would have never imagined that, eh?
No. Like, oh my goodness. Like, even when we were on, like, no, our goal was to be in a van and trailer and be ideally sleeping in Walmart parking lots for summers, maybe getting on Warped Tour and just doing it full time like the bands we loved. Like, the bands we loved, the goals we set were based on a lot of local, like, punk rock, hardcore bands, and just the idea of being on the road was everything to us. Now, I do think that once Simple Plan started, they got over, they kind of went into a new stratosphere of like mainstream success. And that's where I was like, oh my goodness, we can raise the ceiling on what we're trying to do. But before that, no, like when we started out, our goals were very, very modest.
As they should be. Dreams and goals are different.
Totally.
So then, because you guys very much lived, like we said, in the pop punk rock area, and then where a lot of us kind of were introduced to you, at least me and my friends, was when you guys were on Much Music on disBAND. What was that like? Because that obviously like introduced you to a whole new national audience. Was that kind of the moment that kind of exploded for you guys? I imagine.
Yeah, it was overnight. So overnight success for us was 10 years in the making. You know, we worked our tails off. Like we were willing to do whatever it took. Quit a job to go play one show in Winnipeg if it's a good opening slot. Drive like 12 hours, you know, out to Vancouver to do a showcase and then end up being no one there, but we never got deterred. We all lived in a band house. We practiced 5 times a week in the basement. Other people in Edmonton made fun of us because we didn't drink, we didn't go out, and they're like, oh, these guys think they're so good. They think that they're gonna, but the other side of that, the reality is that preparation meant that as soon as we got that the door open, we were ready to run with it. And the moment wasn't too big because we'd been preparing for this forever. And so when you get that dialed in, rehearsing that much, playing that, and you just have it in your head, whatever it takes, I think that when that opportunity came, I remember getting the call about disBAND, which I don't know if we knew the name yet, but it was a voicemail I got because we were all like playing flag football in a field. And I remember getting the call and the show was being described. And I remember in that moment being like, we're going to go on this show. Much Music is going to use us as their like band that they discovered, and this is going to change everything. I remember in that moment thinking that, and that's exactly how it played out because I knew that we were ready for it.
We missed a part where how you got your band together, and I'm really hyper focusing on that right now.
How like Stereos came together?
Yeah.
Oh, we were a bunch of like
did you already know each other?
Not like yes and no. So there's a band called Calico Drive. Anyone from Edmonton will know it. And Dan, Rob, and Miles, all Stereos members, were in this band previously. Then slowly guys would quit or get kicked out. And then that's when I found Rob. We started this like screamo band, and then we just wanted something else. And it was at the right time when Dan was quitting Calico Drive, so he joined us. And then we wrote songs for a year, played no shows. But then our first shows were a tour because, again, we were kind of like trying to get ready. Sure enough, Miles quit Calico Drive right at the time when someone else had left what we were called Stand By Me at the time. Again, very 50s influenced. And then it was just sort of this like mixing and matching of Edmonton music scene guys. And by the time we went on the reality show, we kind of had the lineup set. And in the middle of that, then we found our drummer out in Toronto. And I love this part because Aaron, our drummer, although we found him once we moved to Toronto and started songwriting with other people, he was from Edmonton. And we didn't know each other, but it was great. So we were still able to all like keep it as Edmonton boys together. And so, yeah, it just, a bunch of, we were like Spinal Tap. I want to say we went through like 10 drummers because people didn't want to rehearse 5 times a week. They wanted to have girlfriends and social lives. And I understand that. But at the same time, we were so, like, do I think you need to practice 5 times a week? Not necessarily. Do I think that it made us just us versus the world and that mentality, and like it built us so strong that we could play, any show at any time? We were opening for Katy Perry at Bud Stage within 2 weeks of that, where 2 weeks previously we were playing to Supermarket in Kensington to 0 people. But we were ready for it. We weren't scared. We were like, we know what we're doing. And so I think that it was absolutely the best way to be prepared for anything at any time.
I'm just thinking people don't know that or expect that at all from bands in general. And I just remember like being a teenager in that period and thinking like, I mean, I have now unlocked the memory of watching disBAND through this conversation, but I was like, these fucking bands just get together and they just go rip on this show, and some of them have been bands for a minute and some of them haven't, and like all this, like you said, like your overnight success was 10 years in the making, and you just like back then I'd never think that. Now it's like duh. But yeah.
And like that night though, I remember we played to Supermarket in Kensington to 0 people the night that the episode aired. And I remember getting off stage and getting texts being like, your show's on, blah, blah, blah. And then I went to a concert that night with Rob, and people started recognizing us. We're like, this is weird. And then it was the next day at Walmart where it was like, we had gone, I don't even know why we were there, but like we were getting mauled, people wanting photos and stuff like that. And then, that same first 2 week summer, we'd get kicked out of shopping malls by security because they couldn't handle the like lineups of people who were congesting the walkways to get photos and stuff. And it was like, listen, we know this isn't your fault, but you have to leave. And we're like, we'll help you get out, but you got to leave. And it was like, that happened, like 2 weeks. Think about that. That's crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah, it changed everything.
How did you keep your head on your shoulders when people demanded your attention and thought you were extremely cool?
I didn't. To be completely honest, I did not. And so like Miles, who is one of like my, he's still to this day, he's been the same guy from before we got big to now. Same guy all the time. And I kind of look back on, so I told you we didn't drink and things like that, right? When we were getting the band started. Well, once we saw success, that changed pretty quick. And, but Miles never did, ever. He's straight edge. He has been his whole life. And so if I'm honest with myself, I think it's very difficult. It's not an excuse, but I'll try and make this a short answer. But I spent so much of my time knowing that I was right, that this was going to work out, when everyone around me thought I was being stupid. You want to be a rock star? Good luck, buddy. Yeah. And I would have people close to me being like, well, like our friend so-and-so, he's a teacher, but he also plays with his band on the weekends and like blah, blah. And I was like, I don't want that. I want to do this all day, every day. I want to be bigger than that. Our goal was never to be the biggest band in Edmonton. We wanted to be the biggest band in the world. And so you spend so much of your time thinking I'm right and you're wrong. And then you get success and people around you are like, yes, you were right.
Yeah.
They were wrong. And so everyone around you is telling you that you were right all along. And I think it's difficult for a guy in his early 20s who is now being told by everyone around him that he was right all along to keep a good head on his shoulders. It's not impossible. Miles did it. But for me, I think I definitely was, you need that belief in yourself, delusional belief in yourself to make this work. Because music for most of us is, a month of bad days or hard days wondering if anything's ever going to happen for every one day where you get an opportunity. And so you have to believe in yourself to the point where everyone around you thinks you're crazy. But it's tough when you get the keys to the car now, like I say, and everyone around you is telling you that you're everything you ever thought and more. So yeah, it was difficult. I think that I definitely lost some of that, the band friendship that we had. I think that money became involved, right? and I'm writing all the songs, and how do you split that? Like, just to be fully transparent, I think it's really difficult to just keep that head on my shoulders. I'm very, very thankful that I was able to snap out of it quick too. And now that I have once again this delusional belief in myself that I can do that again, I know that it's not worth anything if I don't treat it with the respect it deserves and maintain like my integrity and who I was raised to be honest.
That's fair. So everybody has their country music backstory.
Yeah.
So history tells me, and what we've talked about so far tells me, country was probably not on your radar. However, the lifestyle of country was on your radar. So where actually does country fall into like growing up? Because you lived in Alberta, so it was there. And you probably went to Stampede.
Well, I think the cliche answer that you hear from a lot of people, and they're probably being truthful, is I was raised on country music, right? Like, so that's all I need to say, and that's why I'm doing country now. I was also raised on country music. I didn't like it, though. I rejected it because it was my parents. It was, like, their friends. And, of course, so, like, before you kind of realize what you're into, I did love country music. Like, 90s country, I loved it as a kid because I didn't, like, it was all around me. And to this day, I think that is some of the best music ever created. With that said, when I started really sinking into music, though, it was punk rock, because that's what my cousins listened to. I worshiped them. They're older. They skateboarded. They did all the cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it was punk rock that made me fall in love with music. It wasn't country. It was just, but it was one of those things, just like appreciating where you're from, getting the cheaper version of things at the grocery store. It's one of those things that my parents were right about all along. And so, full circle.
God damn it.
It's one, like, I remember getting so mad that we didn't have Fruit Loops. We had, like, Fruit Circles or whatever the no-name brand was. But listen,
tastes the same.
Country music is something that I grew up around nonstop. And, one of the things you always hear about country is that you got to be authentic, which I believe wholeheartedly. And so for me to come out and be like, I'm a cowboy, that wouldn't be authentic. I'm not. But I am an Alberta boy, and that I can back up all day long. So that is my story, and that is what I put into my songs. And it's 100% natural, which is, for me, that is authenticity.
That makes sense. So, like, who are some of your country influences now, thinking about, like, the music you're making? And that's the end of my question.
Yeah, like, okay, I think that sonically, I think if you listen to what I'm doing, I would be, first of all, I would say Rascal Flatts is one of the bands where the singer had a higher register voice, which I definitely have. Like, I wish I had a rasp to my voice, trust me, all day long. I wish I had that growl. I just don't have it. But Rascal Flatts and that guy Gary, like, is one of the best singers I've ever heard in my life. And that was one of the guys where I was like, okay, I can kind of model my sound off that. But if you go back to influences, like, I would say Dwight Yoakam as an artist, but also as just like a dude, is probably the guy I would like to be more than ever. And I love his story because he wasn't considered cool enough for the Bakersfield, California country sound, which was really big at the time. And so he started playing with punk bands in LA. And I was like, well, that's just so me. And so I'll say, like, all day long. And I remember, growing up on his songs and that being the guy, obviously Garth Brooks. And, I could go on forever. But I'd say Dwight Yoakam is my dude. That's the guy who I want to emulate through and through. He's just so cool. Like, I don't know how else to put it.
I didn't really know who Dwight Yoakam was until I was 20. And I was at an Eric Church concert, and he was opening for Eric Church in London, Ontario, by the way. So random. And I mean, of course, I actually knew Dwight Yoakam songs, and I just didn't know I did. And my best friend was so disappointed when I was like, who the fuck is that? And she's like, you'll know. And did she know every word to every song? Yes. Did I know every word to every song? No, I knew like 4. But nonetheless.
Oh, and you know what? Like, that's also a beautiful thing that you can have those different career arcs. I do like that. And, like, another influence of mine would be Darius Rucker, in that I went to see a CMA Fest in, like, 2011, I want to say. Rob, Dan, and I, we drove down to Nashville. We didn't even know it was CMA weekend, and we found out by trying to get a hotel. Like, again, this is right at the, like, it was the dumbest thing. We stayed in this place that was, like, if you look it up online, it's called the Stadium Inn. I don't even know if it's still there, but it is, like, a notorious, like, drugs. It is, the worst motel you've ever seen in your life because everything was, like, $400 a night. But one thing we did go to was CMA Fest at the football stadium, and it was, like, Taylor Swift. Like, it was just a crazy lineup. Blake Shelton, Zach Brown Band, like, crazy. And one of the artists was Darius Rucker. And I remember him thanking the crowd for accepting him. And I remember thinking in the moment, that's so weird to me. Like, he's already a legend. Like, Hootie and the Blowfish, he would never have to work again, no matter what, even if he didn't do country. Why is he thanking them for accepting? Why wouldn't they? Mm-hmm. And now I get it. I do get the respect you have to come with to this new genre to establish that you're here for the right reasons and you want to do it and you want to make the right songs. And he obviously has done that, and I get it now. I think that it is a genre where you got to come correct, and I believe that wholeheartedly. Now, it doesn't mean, I don't, there's so many different versions of country, whether it be traditional pop country, and I think they all have a place. But, what's inside and the reasons you want to do it, I still do think that matters.
Totally. What do you think your sweet spot is now?
The Delta sweet spot.
Boo.
Listen, I'm a hook writer. I always have been. I've been very honest about that. I hear melodies all day. I struggle with lyrics, but I think that country has, oh my goodness, it has challenged me in the best way possible with the story you need to tell. And it can still be a story about hanging out with your friends. It can be about falling in love or a drink at the bar. It doesn't have to be about the most groundbreaking issue, but you do have to tell a story in a way that no other genre makes you tell it. And I think that has been one of the best things for me, is to really work on storytelling ability, and co-writing has been a huge part of that. And I think that, so to answer your question, my sweet spot is going to be hooky country music that probably makes you smile more than it makes you feel sad. I'll be honest about that. Sad songs, to me, everyone loves a good sad song if it's done right, but I just don't know if that's my my niche.
That's what's so great about country, is that there's a song for literally every occasion. So we need those sad songs, but we also need the happy songs.
Totally. And I think that, again, we talk about authenticity. I really misunderstood what that meant at first, because I thought it was someone will say, "Oh, you do country. Is it real country?" And right away, I'm like, you're probably not going to be a fan of mine, because you want to hear Zach Top. And I love Zach Top. That guy is so unreal. But I think it would be inauthentic if I was the guy from Steroes and dressed and sounded like Zach Top. That's not authentic. That would be me playing a character. So for me, it's going to be hook driven, and it's going to be a good time, and it's going to be, listen, I've been to enough country music festivals now to know that is exactly my crowd.
Well, I think based on our experience last night, specifically, we have a hot take on Zach Top.
Oh, what's your hot take on Zach Top?
Do we want to put this on the internet?
I don't give a fuck. He's really good.
His
songs, if you know his songs and you like his songs, which I do, really great.
His music, great.
He's boring to watch on
He's very boring
stage.
to watch.
So
he doesn't have that ability. There are artists who can stand there and entertain, and I do not think he has that. And I'm sure he's a new artist also. So he went from he was talking about playing some little show in BC in 2017 to this Budweiser stage last night. And I was like, okay, so you have been on stage long enough.
So I will say that, and that's some feedback I've been getting from my early days here as a country artist on stage, is that I definitely put on a show in a way that maybe isn't the way everyone puts on a show for country, but it's all only because literally that's the only way I know to be on stage, is going back to my pop punk days and how I move. And I think that, I'll be completely honest, guys, I would never win American Idol. I don't have the voice for it. I'm not a terrible singer, but I'm not the best. I know that. But I do think I can put on a show, and I think that will be a niche that I can fit and bring something hopefully different. And I love that. I think that, listen, being on stage, do you guys know Charlie Crockett? Okay. Mm-hmm. That guy, it's very traditional country. It's not high-powered, big banger songs. No. That guy, the second he walks on stage, it actually taught me a great lesson. He doesn't move a ton, but the second he walks on stage, he is a star. He is just he in fact, he moves very slowly, but it's with this confidence and with this, I don't even know how to put my finger on it, because I'm so used to a good show being a guy who goes off on stage. He didn't go off on stage, but he had me mesmerized for an hour and a half of relatively slow songs. So it can be done. Yeah. And I was blown away. I love seeing artists who put me in my place. I mean that, where I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy does something I can't do. Or not that I can't do it, but I've never done. And I have nothing but, I got to go home and do my homework. And I love being challenged that way.
I don't think this is a hot take, by any means, but that was a Chris Stapleton thing for me because I had never seen him until 2 years ago, and I just knew why he was Entertainer of the Year constantly because he just is.
Yeah.
And you'd
Also
see
the voice.
Well, I mean, yeah, you'd see an occasional comment being like, "This guy's boring," and I'd be like, "I don't know if that's true." And I went, time flew, and I didn't like miss a beat, and I went home being like, "No, you just don't get it. That guy's a fucking star."
Hey, listen, are people going to see me live and not get it? 100%. It happens. And that's the beauty of music. I love that none of us are right and none of us are wrong. There's no such thing when it comes to the subjectivity of music and what we love. Like, I love One Direction. Bangers. I don't care what anyone says. Like, you can tell me all day that it's, pop, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I like it. And like, you can like it or not like it. So, with Stapleton, like, I have such a hard time believing that anyone who has, a musical bone in their body would not appreciate. That guy's an alien, vocally.
Literally.
A vocal
so good.
alien. It isn't. I get annoyed listening to him. Like, this isn't fair. But yeah, you know what? It's not for everyone. I don't know what they would be into, but yeah, no, that guy is.
If it's not him, that's weird.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, I'm thinking now about, like, you have had a whole career, at least, like, you've had a whole career once over before. Mm-hmm. How does it feel? And we've talked to a couple of other folks who have had similar situations by, like, being in a band that did well and now they're a solo artist. How does it feel being, like, the new guy in town again? And, like, yeah, you know how it works kind of, but you actually still have a lot to figure out again. Like, where's the WTF? How did I get,
Yeah, like, I'm going to be very honest. It is challenging because it's great in so many ways. It is awesome to have the knowledge of what it takes oh my goodness, it's almost like a purgatory in some ways I'm going to try and articulate this as well as I can. I am so thankful for every small win I get right now, whether it be a playlist, whether it be an opening slot. Like, the gratitude I feel is unlike anything I ever was able to feel in Stereos. Because I've already described to you that by the time Stereos got these shots, I felt like I'd already belonged there for years.
Yeah.
And so the good part about that is you're opening for Katy Perry to however many thousand people at Bud Stage. And the good side is that
16,069.
There you go.
Last night.
There you go. And we're playing to that stage, and 2,000 people missed Katy Perry's set because they wanted to get autographs from us. Like that. And the reason why we delivered so well is because I already, in my mind, had been on that stage a million times. The downside to that is I don't think I appreciated. I wasn't in the moment like, thank you, God, for this unbelievable opportunity. I never had that frame of mind. So it's kind of sad. You don't appreciate things. You feel like you deserve it. And then when it gets taken away from you, it really is like a rug being taken out. I don't have that. Right now, every small win feels unbelievable. The other side of that is I feel ready for the bigger stages, for the bigger opportunities. And I know that if I'm given them, I'm going to do well with it. But I also know that I put out my first solo song as a country artist 6 months ago. Like, I do have to breathe and let it unfold the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, it's great to have that perspective and that gratitude because I think you need that. And it's difficult because I think that, getting passed over doesn't feel any easier just because you're new, especially when you have that knowledge of like, man, I know I could do that. But a very important lesson I think I've learned is I don't get jealous, and I refuse to talk trash on other artists for opportunities they're getting, whether or not I feel like they should be mine. And the reason why is because they have the same dream I do. I think the industry is hard for all of us. And so if someone else is getting that opportunity that I know I also want, I'm never going to hold that against the artist, whether or not I think, man, my song's better. Who cares? If they can eat doing what we're all trying to do, then I think that my time will come too and that I can eat as well. And so trust me, I don't think the industry is always very healthy in terms of how people get opportunities. I don't think it is. I think that, but I don't know. I also don't like when people complain and don't have a solution. I don't know what the solution is to how this works and how you go about getting, whether it be playlists, opening slots, agents, all those things. It's really, really difficult. But I'm never going to hold that against an artist. I think that, if an artist is a bad person and they're hard to deal with and they're mean to people and they don't treat people with kindness, whether it's an opener or someone who can't do anything for them, I believe that the way you treat people is actually more important than it's ever been. And not just for a strategic reason so that they give you an opportunity, because the energy you put out is absolutely who you're going to be remembered as an artist. So I think it's bigger than that. I think you need to be be nice to everyone. And, you'd be amazed at how that translates into just good vibes associated with you. And you never know what opportunity is going to come. But
Totally.
yeah, it's so hard for us all to go back to the first thing I said. You have to have this delusional belief in yourself especially at a time when opportunities would sort of dictate that you're out to lunch and you're not there.
I love that. I feel like you do have a lot of lessons under your belt this time around, so that's kind of nice. And some people never get that, so you get to do this twice, and that's pretty sick.
You know what? And it's funny, as much as I can complain all day about this is so hard, I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm so lucky that I have lived my dream already in life. And so I don't think people are losing sleep at home hoping that I get a second shot at this. I'm self-aware enough to know that. Maybe my mom, she's a big supporter. I think she wants me to do well.
That's really funny. Okay.
How does the band feel about you going solo? Or have you guys is that even a consideration, or?
I heard they hate him now, actually.
Oh, listen, I have got to hand it to the boys, the Steroes boys, for at least outwardly and to my face or through messages I received, they're so supportive. I don't know if deep down part of them has any resentment for the fact that I'm able to pursue this as a solo artist in a way, to be completely honest, that has sort of outperformed the latest iteration of Steroes. I think that the reason why I really went for this and have invested all my time and money and energy into this is because Steroes did get back together. We did put out a new album. It's an amazing album, and it really just didn't hit, to be honest with you. The live opportunities are very few and far between, and it put me in a position where I need more, and it made me have to pursue this. My hope always is that it can benefit both, and that, maybe Steroes does get some opportunities that it's sort of deserved but been passed over for. Those are my guys, and they've always been so supportive, and I love them dearly, and I really hope that we can keep getting together a few times a year, and even if it is just as a hey, remember that band throwback type thing, that's a great opportunity to be in. How lucky are we that we have songs that people still remember 15 years later? That's not the case for most of us, and so yeah, they've been, at least to my face, very supportive.
Well, even behind your back, they have too. I mean, you came across my radar as Delta Sweet from Miles. He sent you my way, or sent me your way, I guess. He said, "Hey, check out this guy."
He's the best. I love Miles so much. We talk, still about, everything going on with music and learning how this works. Because you have to remember, we sold CDs. That's how old we are. That's how outdated we are. So we're trying to learn how, streaming works. And we're really our parents trying to learn to use smartphones in a lot of ways.
Now that you've said that, I can promise you I purchased Summer Girl for 99 cents on iTunes with an iTunes card that I had to buy at the corner store.
Are you sure it wasn't $1.29? Because you know what? That's where we started realizing things were going weird, is when we're seeing the dollar amounts and how you would get music. And then we still had kids who would come to mall signings. So we do mall signings a lot before the day of a show in a town or whatever. It would be at a, skate shop or something in a mall. We'd have kids come through the line and we'd be like, "Hey, come to the show tonight." They'd be like, "What show?" So we're like, "Oh my gosh."
Wow.
We were literally just boy band members to them. And then they'd be like, "Hey, what this song? I can't find it on LimeWire." And they didn't know that was insulting. You know what I mean?
You fucking asshole child, pay the dollar for my song.
Yeah, exactly. But at that time, we realized, I remember as a band going to the label and being like, "There's something here you guys need to figure out and get ahead of." Mm-hmm. And they did not.
And then they didn't.
They did not.
No.
And so it was a very interesting time, right? Where we were, objectively speaking, we had to be in the top 5 domestic Canadian bands at that time in terms of size and what we were selling, but not selling CDs the way bands our size should be selling CDs, I think was a very telling turning point in the music industry. But with that said, I'm so thankful we were a band at that time, because we did still make money, whereas now, in terms of selling music, it's basically free.
Yeah.
For most of you. If we were a band 10 years earlier than we were, we probably never would have had to work again. But, 10 years later, now it would have been much tougher.
Okay, last thing before we get into the catalog, because I think we're running low on time here. Where does the name Delta Sweet come from?
I'm so glad you asked.
Have you been asked 100 times? And you're like, fuck, again?
No, I don't get asked that much.
Oh, okay.
To be honest.
What an original question, Jenna.
Yeah. Shout out Jenna for the question. So
that was going to be my next question too, okay?
Okay, shout out both of you.
Beat you to it.
Both a terrific job. I tried to do a country music project with one of my best friends, and we were looking for a name. And at the time, I was doing some research on country music because I wanted to know the history. And so I watched the Ken Burns documentary on country music. It's like 9 hours, like episodes-wise. And they get into this one part of women in country music. And it's, I want to say, maybe a 2-minute portion. They get into an artist named Bobbie Gentry, and she was like the Southern Gothic country artist in the 60s. She was one of the first women to write and produce her own music. And they just kind of move on. I was like, wait, I want to know more about her. So I looked her up, and she has a fascinating story where she kind of quit while she was on top. And not only quit while she was on top, disappeared. Like no one knew what she was doing. And so I started looking at her music, and she had an album called The Delta Suite with an E at the end, which basically translates to Southern Belle, a Delta Suite. And I was just like, that's the coolest name. So then I Googled it with the spelling I use, and it's nothing. And anyone who's ever started a band knows that when you Google something and you think it's a cool name and it doesn't exist, it is the most amazing moment in your life. Because it is so hard to come up with something. Then you look it up, it's like, oh, it's been done 50 million times already. And so for me, just Delta Suite became its new thing. It's absolutely, out of respect to Bobbie Gentry and like this cool artist that I think more people should know about. And it's also been something really cool to make into my own. And I kind of like that it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Just like Stereos, it can have a new branding and vibe on any new single I put out. And yeah, to me, it just sort of, for lack of a better term, I think it was very cool. And I think anytime something is cool to me, I want to run with it.
I love it.
So we're going to do our usual nameless game, which isn't really a game.
It's got a name. It's the vibe check, period.
Is that what we've decided
Yes,
on?
yes,
Okay.
it's the vibe check.
It's taken us all season to figure that out, but we've been calling it the vibe check since the beginning, so I guess jokes on us.
We figured it out quite early.
Figured it out right away.
Sometimes the first idea is the best one.
Sometimes it's actually really, really, really not, though.
Absolutely true, yeah.
You should have heard the first name of the stupid podcast titles. Not good.
What were they?
Bad. They were bad.
Do you remember any?
Yes.
Tell me one, and I'll tell you a worse. It'll be a worse thing than what you're about to tell me.
Rocking chair stories.
That was one of our ideas.
Not the worst.
That's brutal.
Okay. Well, when Stereos signed our record deal with Universal,
Gulp. Let's hear it.
our band name on the contract
Oh, no.
was City Kids, which sounds like a charity. And what's so funny about that is, like, obviously, again, I'm so thankful. I'm 40, and we can still play stereo shows. Can you imagine trying to be City Kids? like Summer Girl by City Kids? Give me a break. It's the worst name ever. But there's worse, and I'm going to make this quick. Gene Simmons, for like a minute, was kind of involved with us and maybe going to sign us off the TV show. Cool. His idea for the band, he's like, Pat isn't a rock star name. You need to be Tat because you have tattoos. And the band's name is Tat Missile. That's a real thing. Can you imagine Summer Girl by Tat Missile?
I wouldn't listen to it. I'd be scared.
Tat Missile?
Tat Missile. And this is the marketing genius, Gene Simmons. Right? Like, dude, the worst band name suggestion of all time came from him. I don't mind saying it.
That's not good.
Back to your point, Jenna. Sometimes the first idea is not the best.
No.
So we're going to go through a bit of your catalog and just kind of get the vibe check of where you were at when you released this music.
This is going to be tough.
Freak out time. Let's go back in the catalog. We are not going to do Summer Girl. It's too
we're
easy.
going to go with some
low-hanging fruit.
Some Stereos music, right?
We'll start with Stereos music.
Love it.
Me looking at all this, I'm like, oh, I know that song. Okay, let's do Bye Bye Baby.
Ooh, that's a really, really interesting one. So Bye Bye Baby was a song I wrote. It was, I love that song. That's an underrated Stereo song. Like, to this day, great song. I wrote it as like a full band, 4 on the floor, very up-tempo song. Long before we'd ever gotten the TV show. And once we moved to Toronto, we had a rapper we worked with quite a bit. I loved the guy, great. But then he took some of our songs and like asked for instrumentals, acapellas, so just vocal stems. And he sent it off to a producer who then built a completely new sound around it under the same vocals, which is the song that was released, but we didn't know who it was. And that producer ended up becoming a big producer and would never sign off on the splits because he didn't need to once he got big. So this isn't really a vibe check other than a crazy story behind that. But the rapper told us that he came up with the beats, so we listed him as a songwriter, but he wasn't. But vibe-wise,
so
that song rules. It is so good. It is very 2009, like Carrie Hilson 2009 pop, which is like my golden era of pop. Like that era of pop is my favorite to this day. And I recommend "Bye Bye Baby" by Steroes. I think that's a great song.
I don't know why I can't. I'm sure I've heard it before, but all I can think of
it wasn't like a single, dude. Like I don't think a lot of people know it.
But when I think of "Bye Bye Baby," all I can hear is "Bye Bye Boyfriend" by Phoebe Dobson.
It's better.
Can you hear it? I don't want to pay royalties.
Turn off. I don't want to pay royalties. Sorry.
Well,
I don't want to pay you.
You won't, because that guy won't sign off in the splits. No one gets paid from that song.
Oh, that's the whole point of that.
No one gets paid on that song.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. Honestly,
Okay.
I can get paid off for other stuff anyway, really.
Reality of being a rock star is
Don't
still
sign
being broke.
360 deals, kids. Don't do it.
They
Do
be
not
signing.
do it.
They be signing 360s every day. My best friend accosted you with butterflies 2 weeks ago, so let's.
I get
tell me
accosted with butterflies every single day.
Do you really?
It is the song that the band hates the most.
Okay, respects.
That fans seem to love the most.
That's
like,
so
and not like, love. How do I put this? It's like you guys aren't gonna get this, but I don't care. Anyone listening does. Your favorite player can't be Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid. That's too easy.
Yes, it can be. My favorite player is Jeff Skinner, though.
So you're reinforcing my point.
Sorry.
You're 100%. I agree with you, right?
And
it's too easy to say McDavid or Draisaitl.
Yes.
You got it. Yeah, you need a Zach Hyman or like a Brett Kulak, like someone underrated, like just
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Not perfectly rated, exquisite hockey player.
Amazing choice.
Yes.
Nuge. Like, that is my boy right there. Like, you need someone, it's like too easy to say the big guys. So, that's what Butterflies is, right? Summer Girl, throw your hands up, turn it up. That's easy. Butterflies, though, is the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins of
Stereos
catalog. 100%. Where it's like, people just love it, and we're kind of like, so I don't mind that song necessarily. And again, I was just trying to write like there's a song called Bed by Jay Holiday. And it was written by The Dream. So the guy, The Dream, not a lot of people know about him necessarily, but he wrote Baby by Justin Bieber. He wrote Umbrella by Rihanna. And so his music was something I studied at that time. Like the songs he was writing was what I wanted every Stereos song to sound like. And that was very much me trying to cut my teeth as an R&B pop songwriter was Butterfly. Just like a R&B vibey
Drop
song.
it down a sec, yeah.
And it turned into sort of like the video's so cheesy, man. I think we had one rule, like no butterflies, and we show up and there's like a butterfly painting on the wall. I'm like,
I was gonna say you show up and it's the Butterfly Conservatory.
Like that's where we realized, okay, we can give the label our input, but they're not always gonna listen to us.
Super. I actually just got distracted by the fans also like section. I'm gonna have to go back to I think I was 14 in this era of life for all of us.
That was our demographic.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Let's go to your other album. Let's go to Body Move.
So
Uh-oh.
Okay, good song. I like that song. This is very much, I wrote the first album, most of it, as an unknown kid in his basement in Edmonton, dreaming of being like whatever. I wrote the second album as this lead singer who wanted to be a famous rapper who'd already seen some success, had some money in the bank. So I wrote that song about strip clubs. Now, if you re-listen to that song now and like the lyrics, it was me like falling in love with a stripper, essentially. I really, really, really wanted to be T-Pain.
Based on a true story?
Yeah. It's kind of like, this feels weird. It's kind of like gambling. It's like you win once and then you lose like 15 times, but because you won one time, you're like, I can win. And so
I think that's actually the definition of addiction too.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think it was more just like a personal challenge, but I think you get successful one time and you think you can do it
everywhere.
Yeah. Good song, a little douchey, to be honest.
Fair
but
enough.
I was douchey at the time.
It's the self-awareness,
I am nothing.
What are you supposed to say? No, couldn't be me. Don't know that guy.
I love a good insult, whether it's from myself at myself or from my friends. If it's, I can admit where my shortcomings.
And they're only shortcomings if you don't actually learn from them, I think, right?
Bingo.
Okay, let's get you out of Stereo's world, I think.
No, wait. Let's do one more Stereo song.
Is it your favorite one?
Because I really like the song, and it's from your latest album.
Okay.
That I have had on repeat for like 2 years. Out in the Wild.
Ooh, that's the first song I wrote for the album, I think.
Convenient. It's also the first track on the album.
Maybe that's why. Very lazy track listing selection. I don't think I have ever one time been asked about that song.
It's so good.
It's so good, man. That album is so good. There's a song, I think it's the last song maybe, 1,000 Days is my favorite Stereo song I've ever done, or Sunset Gold. Two of them are just, they're unbelievable songs. And I don't mind saying that. They're like, I can tell you the worst Stereo songs, happy to. Like, I've written some very bad songs, but there's some great stuff. Out in the Wild is, so full disclosure, around 2020, I was married and got divorced. And a lot of this album is about, finding myself and at a stage in life and being like, are you happy with where you're at? And if you're not, then you got to now go through the wilderness to find out where you are at. And so Out in the Wild is very much about that. It's about being on my own for the first time, really, as an adult, to be like full. Like, I always go back to when I moved out of my house, I moved in with a band, and then we all moved to Toronto. And then I got married and lived. I've never been on my own. And Out in the Wild is about finally doing that. And, you can either sit still and feel sorry for yourself, or you can cut your way through the wilderness. And that's what I've had to do. So I'm still doing. So
It's a banger.
It's a meaningful song to me. I love that song.
Out in the Wild.
It's a great one. Yeah, good call.
Okay, now we can go to country, I guess.
You're fine. Let's talk about Out of Money, Out of Mind, because it's really catchy.
Thank you. That to me was I was trying as much as possible to emulate 90s country. I think that, it's the same-ish vocal melody and chord progression through the verses and the chorus with just, a lift in it. It's a self-deprecating, lovable loser, And I think that, so if you think about Friends in Low Places as an example of, a classic country song everyone knows about, sort of poking fun at yourself about being this guy who is, lovable loser. I think it's one of my favorite songs I've ever written in my life. And I think a lot of songwriters can relate to the fact that when you write a song in one day or less, it's usually really good if it writes itself that quickly. And so every lyric, everything, it was never changed from the day I wrote the demo until the day it came out. And it's a special song for me too, because this guy I've looked up to for most of my life as a musician in Edmonton. I think he probably views me as sort of an annoying little brother, but Dan Davidson.
I love Dan.
Oh, he's the best dude. And he produced it for me. He really helped me bring it to life. And he didn't change too much either, which I think was sort of a testament to him saying, you've got this. It's not like, I do think a lot of people, they're like, I want to be a country artist. And, country music is certainly as popular as it's ever been right now, no question. And that's a good thing. There's a lot of opportunity, but the other side is it's very congested. How do you set yourself out? Are you doing this for the right reasons? And he sort of gave me the validation that you've got this. This is a great song. I want to work on it with you. And he helped bring it to life. And it was my first song ever as a solo artist, with no one else helping me out on it. And yeah, I love that song.
It's pretty cool.
It's a good
Okay, let's wrap it up with your latest single, Drive 85.
Ugh, this is so pathetic, but it's about the same subject as Out in the Wild, man. It's about lost love. I like the song because I think that the subject for me is, I'm telling a story, and I think that it's basically we can make this work if we just floor it the whole time. And it's basically the idea, I think, is that the listener can tell she's not coming back. The guy singing says, I think we can, you can, I can get her back, we can make it. We've had these ups and downs, but if we just do everything we can and pin it, it'll work. And the listener kind of knows it's not happening. And so, bittersweet song. I think it makes me feel, I always like to describe my country songs are either, it's a highway drive on a beautiful summer day, or it's a highway drive at sunset and it's getting dark. Those are my two types of songs. And this one is definitely a sunset drive where you're losing sunlight. And I think it has that bittersweet feeling to it.
Okay, we're getting to the end, and this has been fun. We should probably do a part 2.
I would love to. This is so much fun.
I feel like we've just started here. But thanks for joining us on the porch.
Yeah,
Oilers in 7.
On the porch, not
I
the
think.
rocking chair stories.
I'm gonna call it Rocking Chair Stories. When I share it, I'm gonna be like, check out Rocking. Just
Not tagging you in it. Just
You
not
totally
hashtag
will
you.
too, because you're social. Like you,
Oh, hey.
you're so funny on social media.
Thank you. And listen, I will make fun of myself all day. I'm very careful. Okay, here's a bad idea I had. You know when you have a release day, everyone, I do it, everyone does it. They share everyone who shares their song. It's the good thing to do. I had this idea, and I'm so glad I didn't do this, that I would reshare, but I would make fun of them every time. They would be like, hey, check out his new song. I'd be like, yeah, obviously you have ears. It's a good song, blah, blah, blah. Being very like, but I was talked off that. And they're like, not everyone's going to get that.
No.
People are going to be insulted. Don't do that. And so I learned, you know what? I'll make fun of myself, but I will make fun of my best friends. That's what my group chat's for. But I would never do that to you guys. Long story short,
Not the rocking chair stories.
yeah, you don't need to, it's not Rocking Chair Stories. I will give you the respect you deserve.
I don't know. My life philosophy is anything for the joke.
It is.
Hey, listen,
And you got to run with it because he'll let you.
I'm the same way. I love a good chirp. It's a lost art, and yeah, I don't get thrown off or insulted. So
I love on your social media, you'll post something and then like, there's people who are hating this because they don't get the joke.
Oh, well, full disclosure, anytime I post dudes rock, it's usually an example of dudes not rocking. Like being the dumbest human beings.
It's so
What? No.
funny.
Well, because it's like, I always say this. I love how dudes can like build spaceships and go to Mars, right? That's something we can do. But we also will like light ourselves on fire and shotgun beers and go off jumps and break our legs because we're dumb as hell. You know, like it's such a fascinating existence to be a dude, and yeah, dudes rock. We're dumb, but we rock.
I think that's a great place to end this.
Yep.
There you go.
That's the
I
name.
appreciate you guys having me on.
That's the name of
Seriously,
the episode.
dudes rock. Yeah, it should
Dudes
be.
rock. That might direct the wrong attention.
Anything for the joke.
Worth a try.
Yeah, hey, I'm okay with that.
Anything for the stream.
All right, Pat, Mr. Sweet, Delta Sweet, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you guys. You guys can call me Pat for the rest of my life, no matter how big I get. How about that?
Oh,
Deal.
I'll hold you to that.
Okay, for sure. You're
I will not
grandfathered in.
will not call you Mr. Sweet no matter what you ask for anyway.
I think
So
that's probably fair. And I hope that even there you go. That's another example. I wonder if people think that I'm serious about that because I never will be that guy.
We'll find out.
We'll find out, I guess.
Thanks for listening to another episode of On the Porch with Front Porch Music. We're so lucky to be able to chat with artists and make episodes like this one. If you like the podcast, remember to rate and review us, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. It's the easiest way to support the show. Remember to check out frontporchmusic.ca to keep up with new music releases, exclusive artist interviews, and more. We'll catch you again on the Porch in a couple of weeks. On the Porch is hosted by Logan Miller and Jenna Weiser, and produced and edited by Jason Saunders. That's me. Our theme song is written, produced, and performed by Owen Wrigley.